Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Starters podcast. This podcast is made just for you if you're breaking intergenerational patterns and turning ancestral wounds into creative potential, embody joy, and intergenerational abundance. I'm your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and I'm passionate about ancestral healing and growth, as well as astrology and pleasure as transformative medicine. So I'm here to help elevate your consciousness and promote joy in your life. I truly believe everyone can become a cycle starter, reshaping their lineage and fostering growth and healing. Join me as I share enlightening insights and feature inspiring guests. We are here to support you in letting go of anything that's holding you back from your fullest expression in healing, growth, and transformation. If you're ready to be inspired on your journey of transformation and to create a life that aligns with your true self, then you are in the right place. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on our social media platforms. You can learn more about what I do and how I can support you along your ancestral healing journey on my website, heatherrebeccawilson.com, which is linked below. And then please feel free to connect with me. You can DM me any topics you'd like for me to cover, share your takeaways, or even better, you can send me a screenshot of your review and I will send you a thank you gift. So let's get into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Cycle Starters podcast. I am so excited to be having a chat with the amazing, the incredible Francesca James today. Hi, Francesca. I'm going to read your bio and then we're going to start our conversation. So Francesca James, intuitive life coach and energy therapist, combines her powerful spiritual guidance, intuitive voice, and healing hands with 15 years of sales and marketing as an award-winning account executive in the world of television advertising. As a result, she is a mama, sister, other mother, and friend to a diverse following of individuals around the globe whose lives are recalibrated because they've been tapped by Francesca. She assists them in remembering to remember their unique soul print, which the world is incomplete without. Francesca is the founding director of I Am Woman, the women's ministry of Agape International Spiritual Center, spearheaded by visionary leader Michael Bernard Beckwith. She has been a licensed spiritual practitioner of Agape since 1991. Through retreats, private coaching, boutique classes, special events, and speaking engagements, Francesca has one goal: spark a remembrance within others that their lives are not created by hands, but by thoughts, inner beliefs, feelings, and focused awareness. Through the ministry and her book, Resurrecting the Muse, A Woman's Guide to Rising Above Societal Conditioning, she awakens women to their soul essence, mandatory in the world in which we live. Francesca resides in Los Angeles, California. So yeah, that's your story. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, actually. It's been a good start to my day. It's it's funny, the energy that we've been in, and I don't know it from an astrological point of view, but there's been an interesting, intense sitting in the in-between energy that's happened for a long time, and you can feel the shift to the other side. You can feel it. I think I can breathe now, almost, kind of feeling.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I feel like we are definitely in a transitional period and stuff's starting to shut down. Things are closing off that no longer serve us in, in the futures that are destined for us. I feel like for those of us who are on this path of doing healing work and especially ancestral healing work. So I want to start off first by talking about your ancestry. So what do you feel comfortable sharing about your ancestors with our viewers?
Well, according to Ancestry.com, I am 80% African. That's mostly Ghana, Nigeria, the Congo, a little bit of Senegal, various different places. And the rest of that energy is colonizer energy, the Spanish and the British from different parts of those areas. So it's all in here, which I think is why the healing work is so important to me.
Yeah, you are doing amazing work in the world. And one example of that work is the fabulous workshop that you recorded for the Ancestral Healing Collective. And I believe it was last September. So it's been a year. So that workshop is called Guided from Within, Harnessing Your Intuitive Potential to Shape Your World. So if you are interested in experiencing that workshop, it's only available to members of the Ancestral Healing Collective. You can go to heatherrebeccawilson.com to learn more and to join. But in a nutshell, it is a sacred space that I've created for female-bodied cycle breakers to alchemize deep ancestral wounds into creative potential, shifts to higher consciousness, and embodied joy using astrology and pleasure as transformative medicine. So one of the perks of the membership is that you get access to a live guest expert led workshop each month. And Francesca so generously shared her medicine with us last September. So that recording is available to anyone in the membership, and you can watch it, you can rewatch it. It's there for you as a timeless resource. So how did you get to this place, Francesca, where you decided to create that offering?
The intuition.
Like, how did you get to this place where you are practicing in the way you do? Because I know helping people develop their intuition is a big part of your work.
It is, because I think that there's no other authority except for that you intuit, that you download, that you hear from the highest part of yourself. And I got to it, Heather, because when I was a little girl, the number 8 always jumps in because I don't consciously remember how old I was. So maybe I was around 8 years old. I had never heard of intuition, meditation, any of that, but I would go upstairs to my bedroom in the evening time. I would make sure the lights were off. I would sit in the middle of my bed. I would pull the covers over my head and I would cover my eyes and I would wait for this light. I'd wait for a light. Where that came from, came from somewhere. And whatever was troubling the 8-year-old child, I would be at peace about. I would know everything was okay and never thought about it again. And so that was my development of my own alignment with something greater than my experiences and my thinking about whatever was going on. And I never forgot that. And I actually did that practice until I went away to college. So from 8 until I went to college, because I thought, well, they're going to think I'm really weird. I can't do that. But there was always a connection with something that I was always listening to. And I've realized that there's no greater guidance. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks, says, what my own past experiences have been, or anyone else's experience when they're trying to advise and protect and guide you, whatever. All that matters is what do you connect with inside of yourself? Because I believe that's why we're here, to listen to that guidance and to follow its direction, to be all that we are intended to be here on the earth plane at this extremely important time in human history.
Well, so for those folks who are interested in experiencing this workshop, what would you tell them in terms of how to best prepare to get the most out of that experience?
To be open-minded and to trust. It really requires a tremendous amount of trust. People can go back and go, oh man, I did hear that, or oh, I knew that. Trust it when you hear it. Or trust the fact that you can go back and say, you know what, I heard that. You know what, I knew that. It's to me, the most important thing is to develop a sense of trust in the unknown, because it is an unknown. That is the
All
most
right.
important thing.
Okay, wonderful. Well, so let's talk about your ancestral healing journey so far. What can you share with folks about that path for you?
I had a good, happy childhood in white America because I went to Catholic school, which was not all white. There were other black and brown kids there, but mostly white. For years, honestly, if I heard the word black in whatever context, I realized that there's some visceral thing that happened inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a thing that happened inside of me if I heard that word, black. And I went to a workshop, Reverend Cynthia James, when I was in Denver, had a workshop. I think it was called What Will Set You Free. And I only took the workshop because my oldest daughter was out of college, came home, and wanted to do some spiritual work. I said, well, let's go to Reverend Cynthia's workshop. So when they go around and they ask why you're there, words came out of my mouth that, I hadn't thought about. And I said, I'm here. I don't remember exactly the words, but I'm here to heal the trauma of growing up Black in America. And I was like, huh, guess that's what'll set me free. But that was the first real conscious step into healing what it's like to be not white in the country in which I live. And since then, it's been important to me, people who are not white. And for me, it's typically a Black and white. I'm 80% African. It's a Black and white situation because if those two can get it together, then it buoys everyone else up. And, I feel like it's so important for Black people to heal the wounds because we don't even realize how much we walk in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that it shows up and our thoughts, it's just invasive. And the other thing I do is I teach classes to white people when they will take them because they are very resistant. It's an unconscious bias training.
Yeah.
Because, so much of what they do is unconscious. And they aren't made to be conscious because we're so polite, have been. I think we're moving away from that. We're
I think
becoming
we are
very
too.
unapologetic in who we are. And those two things go together for me. Heather, I had a sound bath this past Saturday. I won in a 30-day yoga challenge. They had various prizes, and they were great prizes. The only one I wanted was the group class because I could choose between having 2 different types of yoga classes or a sound bath. And I don't know, have you ever been to a sound bath?
Yes, I have. It's been a while though, but I would love to go to another one.
Yeah, it was wonderful because everybody I was inviting was my family and friends, and they were all Black. And so I asked the owner of the yoga studio, do you know a Black facilitator of sound baths? And she did. It was such an ancestral healing. It was a sound bath like I'd never experienced before because of the way that she hit the drum and the different intonations that she did. I had tears in my eyes. So I had to speak, of course, after the sound bath was over and just thank everyone for being a part of that journey because we must remember who we are, why we're here at this time, because we have so much to share and to give that's been pushed down that we know, but we haven't been able to speak from, live from, be from. But now I'm like, you can, and please do. That's how I feel about it. There's no holding back anymore.
Well, so to put a finer point on it, what would you say are the intergenerational patterns that you have been dissolving and breaking in your lifetime? And then also, what have been some of the biggest challenges around breaking those patterns?
I grew up a colored girl, and my start was the white doctor told my colored parents, they told my mother, I'm her 3rd child. She's had 2 children already. They told her she wasn't pregnant. And she kept insisting she was pregnant. They cut her open for a tumor, and voila, there I was. So that's my start. And I think somehow that's so much a part of my desire for justice, for being seen, even though I was a very quiet, shy child. No one believes that, but I was. But that my parents, because I said, Mom, why are we not rich? Well, your father, they didn't want to rock the boat.
Mm.
They didn't want to press. And I'm like, so that's my beginning, where you don't push the envelope, you go along to get along, to be a part of the society. And so I moved through society in that way, learning how to get my part. What do I have to do to get my part? How do I have to play this game to get my part? And I have 2 daughters. They are now 39 and 36. But when they were little, my teaching to them was, you know who you are. You know that, your teachers are here. They're being paid to give you what you need. If you're not getting what you need, you let me know, you know. and to always stand up for them. There was one time my youngest child was, I don't know, grade. She was in maybe fifth. I think it was when she did go into middle school. That would be fifth grade. She had been in the gifted and talented program with these kids for years, same group of kids. And then all of a sudden, the principal wanted to put her in a different class, gifted and talented kids, all white. She was the only black child in the class. And all her friends who were mixed were in this other class. And I had to go fight for her. And I was like, why did you separate? Well, we'd like for these children to get to know her. And I was like, if they want to get to know her, she'll be in that class over there because you're going to move her. Like, why are you making an example of my child for the white people to get to know? I have always been an advocate for standing up for Black people, my children, anybody else, is because I just think we're magical. I do believe that we're magical and magnificent, and that there's a jealousy of that. And that's too bad because it's who we are, and that we are to be seen and experienced. And, I've fought for that, for lack of a better word, always, always, even in my quietness and now in my very vocal state. And to Heather, I grew up in a really white world, but I have to say, in general, and that's not specific people, in general, white people are just on my last nerve because I'm tired of their unconsciousness and they're not wanting to look and not wanting to see and feeling like, oh, I'm a good person, but you're not. If you're not living in the truth of everyone's experience, you're not a good person, in my opinion. So let's be good people together, you know? So I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, thank you for sharing that. There's a lot of wisdom, a lot of embodied wisdom that's coming through with what you just shared. So I want to go deeper into the work that you're doing now. And we briefly touched upon it because this is like relatively recent, right? Like, would you say you started doing these workshops that were focused on elevating folks' consciousness around race? Would you say, did that start during the pandemic?
It started after the murder of George Floyd.
Right. That was the catalyst, I think, for a collective awakening around race in our culture. And a lot of people woke up, not everybody, but I do think it was a moment. It was a watershed moment for people. So are you still doing these workshops and trainings? And can you talk to people a little bit more about that? Like what do they entail and what is the intention and what have been the biggest challenges around it?
I'm going to start with the biggest challenge around it is that white people don't want to hear because they think that they're okay, you know? And even if they are good people, they don't want to hear because I take them all the way back to the history. And the bottom line is we are not now and never have been and won't be what you were told that we are. This is not the truth, that there is an orchestrated system here that has made you and manipulated you to believe something about us that's just not true. And, it was important to me when people were woke and wanting to talk to Black people and understand, and every Black person I knew on social media or in person was like, I'm exhausted. I can't talk to you. And what white people don't understand is we're still exhausted. Our life is exhausting because there's constantly something we're hearing that has happened to our people, that's unjust. But it started there because I was like, oh my goodness, I have a captive audience that actually really cares. And so I started teaching a class, and the class truly takes them all the way back to the beginning. It helps them understand how gangs came to be and what they really represent. It helps them to understand those things like the Black Panthers that they were taught were these horrible people who were wonderful people that were doing things to benefit their people. It helps them to really go back and think about the fact that someone came over for their economics, stole us from our land, stole land from other people for their own economics, and that's the system that still exists. That's still the system that exists. It's all about their economics and not caring whether anybody else gets their fair share in general, if you look at the whole picture. And so do I still teach those classes? I kind of really took a step back for a while because for me to teach the class is exhausting because I have to live this every time I teach the class. And there's a part where I play this video for them and I have to turn off my video because I'm in tears.
Mm.
you know, and then I had to wipe them and come back, you know. But I did. I took a step back, but I'm really right now actually stepping forward again and wanting to reach out to corporations who need to do better. They just need to do better. And that's not been easy. That's been hard, but that's my push intuitively. That's my push right now to keep moving forward, to keep going with these classes.
Thank you for doing this work. And, I just want to underline for folks the leaders who step up, right, to hold these spaces, right, to elevate the conversation, to raise people's consciousness. It's a lot of intellectual labor. It's a lot of emotional labor, and it's a lot of spiritual labor.
Mm.
So I love that you took a step back to take care of
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm.
because you are here on a mission for sure, and you will not be able to sustain if you burn out.
Right.
So I think that's really important and valuable for people to witness, for you to be modeling that, right? It's taking care of ourselves, especially as Black people, as
Right.
people of color,
Right.
right? And it's no longer okay to be extracted from, by other people. So
It's not.
they,
We're not in those times anymore. That's
yeah,
the past.
right.
We're putting it in the past. And I didn't want to teach these classes. I was like, God, seriously? Why me? Why? And then it was like, it just made kind of logical sense. Well, you've been around white people all your life. You know them. You understand them. You realize you can see these things. You know how to talk their language. The whole. So I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't want to do it. But when people take the class and they realize things that they didn't realize and they start to question themselves, it does my heart so much good. It's so fulfilling when that happens. And anyone that takes the class, they have some realizations that they hadn't had before.
Well, you are an extremely powerful guide and facilitator, so I'm not surprised to hear that at all. Well, so switching gears a little bit, I want to talk a little astrology, since the Ancestral Healing Collective
Yeah.
monthly membership supports female-bodied cycle breakers with pleasure as transformative medicine, but also astrology, in the sense that it is for me at least, a language and a framework for supporting yourself on an ancestral healing journey, but also understanding yourself and empowering yourself as an energetic vessel of divine energy. So, do you mind if we share your sun, moon, and rising signs with our viewers?
Not at all.
So, I have it because I have notes from when I did your chart. So, you are a Leo sun, so that's fixed fire. So, that's where you shine, and that is special sauce that you put into everything that you do that makes you stand out from the 11 other astrological signs. And then you are a Libra rising, so that is cardinal air, and your rising sign is your perception of reality. It's the vehicle for your divine mission, and it represents the qualities that the people that you are meant to serve, it's what they see in you. So your moon is Aquarius, and your moon is your emotions and your ancestral wounds. And it's also what you are responsible for giving yourself in order to feel centered and at home in your own energy. Aquarius is fixed air. So you are air and fire in this big three of your energetic signature. I want to ask you about your Libra rising. That's what's jumping out to me right now. So the people that you're meant to serve, they're very much attracted to your beauty. Libra is ruled by Venus, who is the goddess of love, money, and pleasure. So she's all about making things beautiful, making things harmonious, making things balanced. Right. And also Libra is all about justice and hearing both sides of the story. And so I do think that you are living out your divine mission. Absolutely. I've never, ever questioned that for as long as I've known you. But yes, people are very much attracted to your sense of justice and balancing, basically righting the wrongs, balancing the scales. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, that perfectly resonates with me. Absolutely. That for always.
And you're also very creative. I mean, that's part of that Leo sun, that fixed fire, that's That's passion, that's energy, that's creativity, that's inspiration. And Leo is like an entertainment executive. Just able to hold the attention of a room, but also connect to each individual and make them feel like they're the only person in the room. Leo's extremely passionate and very loving and very courageous. And so I would say that you are all those things. And this Aquarius moon is very much a humanitarian. Aquarius is a visionary, is very much interested in technology in the future, but also, just things out of the mainstream. Aquarius is very avant-garde. And while they're very much about being an individual, that is balanced with the needs of the collective. And so I love that aspect of Aquarius energy where it invites us into that question, right? How can I express myself as a unique individual authentically while balancing the needs of the collective of humanity? So I would say that you are definitely a humanitarian and you are very, very interested in elevating the consciousness of humanity. But in terms of emotionally regulating as an Aquarius moon, what that says to me is that your default would be a lot of processing in the mind, because air represents like our thoughts, our consciousness, our beliefs. What's your experience of your emotions throughout your life, and how have you taken care of yourself emotionally?
It's funny, I think in earlier years that my heart and my head really were almost like at battle with each other. Like which one's going to take over, And I feel like I, for a long time now, have kind of come to peace with that, because when I am mentally processing, I allow myself to pull back, to be still and to listen. Because, I tell my clients all the time, give your left brain something to do, because it needs to try to figure things out. Let it go ahead and do that, but don't dismiss that part of you that is intuitive. And I think that's kind of the way I do it. If you need to process, go ahead, think about these things, but know what is possible, know the potential, know the greater part of it, and keep listening. And eventually you'll stop paying attention to the other thing over there. I mean, they work together. One's not separate from the other, they work together. But I think also that's a part of me that allows me to pull away when I need to pull away. I have pulled away from a lot of people, Heather, in the last year. To be who I am and to do what I'm here to do, I can't be around. I love you. I can't be around your energy. I just can't. Maybe I'll come back in, but right now I can't. And I think there's a part of whatever that component is that you just described about my astrological self that helps me to pull away. When I was having birthday dinner, which was in August, and my daughters were saying, well, who do you want to have come? And I was like, just family, that's all. I was like, I don't like too many people right now. I just want the family. That's all I need.
Well, the interesting thing about Aquarius moon is that they're very concerned with humanity, but sometimes they don't like people, right? Like certain individuals. You're like, the collective of humanity, I love you, right? Humans can be wonderful, but there's certain humans where you're like, I'll pass. I'm a hard pass on this person.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you have to draw those boundaries for yourself in order to take care of yourself, right? In order to love yourself.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you're never going to talk to that person again, or you're never going to see that person, but you are going to maybe limit your exposure.
Right.
Limit the times, how often, whatever. And that's just taking care of yourself, right? It's good energy hygiene, good energy management. So thank you for allowing us to talk a little astrology. I think it's helpful for people.
Yeah.
Also, what are you excited about now? What have you been creating? Because we haven't talked in a while, really, since probably before I got married and you recorded this workshop, which was so awesome. But yeah, what are you working on now? I mean, I know that you've separated from some people over the past year. It sounds like that's been going on, and that's a journey in itself. But what are some of the creative projects that you've been working on that you can share with us?
I've always really cared about women And so that again is a class that I teach, women's liberation for women. And I think, we're in a time where it's just really obvious that it's important for women to really, again, it's the same thing as it is for people of color, to step into the truth and not be diminished by what someone else thinks. I think that's true for women of all ethnicities, to step into the truth of what it is to be a woman. Because just as we've been defined as people of color, we've been defined as women by those people over there that have something to gain from keeping us thinking a certain way, about ourselves. And so the work with women is really important to me as well, that we love each other and realize that we're not in competition with each other, and that we can grow so well when we come together and honor the differences. Just because we're women doesn't mean we're identical.
Right.
But what are all the nuances of being this woman or being that woman or being whatever woman, and really valuing each other from that perspective. And again, as I said, I'm stepping back into I call it embracing diversity and creating change. The classes for white people, and I have taught a corporate class in the past. I taught a class at Compass Realty,
Mm-hmm.
which is the largest real estate company in the country. At least it was at that time. I don't know if it still is, but I want to step into corporate America. I know some people that used to work for Equinox, and I'm going to call them out, Equinox. And I know that there was a case. I think this Black woman I believe she filed originally in 2020 because she was a personal trainer, because of racial discrimination. And she got a payout in 2023 of $11.25 million.
Wow.
And then as I researched it, another case was filed in February of 2024. And this person won $11.3 million. I'm like, what is happening at Equinox? So I'm kind of trying to see if I can get some steps in there to go, y'all
Okay.
listen, because something's not right over here.
Yeah.
But corporate America is about economics, and if it's about economics, it's not about people.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, thank you for wanting to help them.
mm,
And it's interesting when we see a problem and we have a solution, and then we also realize that this person or this organization actually doesn't want a solution,
they don't want a
or
solution.
they're not ready,
Mhm.
right? So how do you navigate that when you see, oh my gosh, this organization, these people, like, they are out of order,
Mhm.
and I have something that could help. And then what do you do when you realize, oh my gosh, they actually
Ne-
don't want this?
Next, because I'm
Right.
not going to beat myself up, and maybe they come back. Maybe
Right.
they realize and they come back, but it's really a next situation for me because there's too much need out there. you
Right.
know
And this has happened, right? Like, in your experience where
Oh,
you've found
absolutely.
that people are just not ready to go there?
Right. And part of it, honestly, Heather, I don't know how you could pay out over $22 million in a couple of years
I know.
and not think that something's wrong. That I'm not finished pursuing that at this point. But oftentimes they look at themselves individually or the good of the organization, and because they have no empathy, there's no looking at another perspective. They only look from their perspective, they look through their eyes. And so when they feel like, well, you get these things like from individuals, well, I'm married to a Black man.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, your biracial child's having some issues because they told me so, or my daughter has a Black girlfriend. Like, that makes everything okay. It's like they don't want to look deep enough. It's an unconscious bias, and I think there's a fear of being uncomfortable, and nobody's trying to make you uncomfortable. Guess what? Everybody else is uncomfortable, so maybe you can come on in here with us. So, I present to the best of my ability, and then I step back because you can't force someone to change, and sometimes people realize, oh, maybe I should do that, but it's hard enough to teach the class, than to have to try to force someone to understand why they need the class. So I will step back, you know. That's why I appreciate the ability for me to just step back when I need to and go to the next.
Yeah, I think it's so healthy for those of us who are doing this work to have that sense of detachment, right? Like, I
Mhm.
can do what I can do, but also I'm not going to drag you to your healing.
No.
I'm not going to be your healing
Mhm.
concierge and
Mhm.
accommodate you when you actually don't see that there's a problem and feel the need to do something.
Right.
And I think we all have like a journey to go on when it
Mhm.
comes to navigating situations like that, right? Because we can
Mhm.
end up feeling totally drained and not know why. And then, finally after it happens enough times, we're like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm actually
Yeah.
good with that person being
Right.
where they are. And maybe that's not their assignment in this lifetime, or maybe it's not their assignment in this season of their lives, and
Yeah.
they'll come back at another time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, so what would you say in terms of your ancestral healing journey? What would you say are the cycles that you're starting in your lineages? What new seeds are you planting in this lifetime to have a positive impact on your living descendants, but also the descendants to come?
It really is the recognition of the truth of who I am as a Black woman who has been a Negro, she's been colored, she's been African American, she's been Black. I refer to myself as Native Black. I feel like I have a lot of lessons that I've learned, and I have always tried to drop those into my daughters. And now I have a 13-year-old grandson who has experienced racism. And I tell him, I'm really sorry that this is the world that you live in, but because this little boy, he must have been 6 years old when he told his mother, pause my show because I think he was younger than that. I need to pray. And she was like, huh? And in fourth grade, he made up these cards and wanted to teach his friends during recess how to meditate. These aren't things that he consciously got from us, but he got this from being in the environment. But they were just like I innately knew to cover my eyes and get in the dark and see a light. And so I tried to nourish those things about him and help him understand, don't be what they want to make you. Don't become that. You have the opportunity to show them who you truly are and that you're not what they believe you to be. And trust that he passes that on to his friends. And that's just the seed that I'm always trying to plant, is stand in the truth of who you are without being influenced by what somebody thinks you are. Know who you are. And that comes from meditation and listen to your intuition. I mean, straight up for me, if you're practicing meditation, it's only the only intention of meditation is to align you so that you can hear. There are other things that come as a sidebar. You feel more relaxed, you're maybe healthier, all these things, but its intention is to connect you, align you so that you can hear, because your intuition is talking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't just talk like, oh my God, I heard that thing. Well, what else did you hear? Because it's always there to guide you. That's what intuition is. And so I'm always trying to drop those seeds. Listen to your inner voice. When my children were young teenagers, one going into their freshman year of high school, and my oldest daughter was in her junior year of high school, I had their friends come over every 2 weeks. I would feed them because, you got to feed teenagers. And we would just talk about stuff. And if you asked any one of them today, actually, what was the main thing that I wanted them to understand? And if you asked them as a group, they would say it collectively: listen to your inner voice. There was a song by Christina Aguilera, The Voice Within. That was one of our theme songs. Because she talked about, when you're going through these things, young boy, young girl, whatever, listen to the voice within. And so that's the biggest seed to me that I drop, is that you have inner guidance. Listen to it, follow it. Not just hear it, but follow it. And not on the back burner, follow it immediately, because it takes you from this step to the next step.
Beautiful. Well, speaking of your inner voice,
Mm.
your amazing workshop, which is inside the Ancestral Healing Collective resource library, is called Guided from Within, Harnessing Your Intuitive Potential to Shape Your World. So it's absolutely fantastic. If this interests you, you have to join the collective. Go to heatherrebeccawilson.com. You can learn about all the different membership perks and join us there. And Francesca, thank you so much for this enlightening and inspiring conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and it's so good to see you. So if folks want to learn more about you, or if they want to work with you potentially, either in a one-on-one capacity or a consulting training capacity, where should they go?
My email is francesca@francesca-james.com.
Okay.
And the website is francesca-james.com if you want to know more. That's the best way to contact me.
Fantastic. And are you on any of the platforms regularly? Is there one that you use more than others?
I can tell you today, my favorite is TikTok. I love TikTok.
Okay. I got to follow you on there. I don't
I
think I
love,
am.
and I was posting really regularly, and I kind of have not posted quite. I posted a week ago, but I haven't posted as frequently because I've been in that midpoint. That I taught one of my later posts talked about the dark night of the soul, and I felt like we were in a collective dark night of the soul because the creator wants us to understand that a lot of things that have worked in the past are shifting. Go to the new, but you have to listen to what the new is and be guided. So I was kind of in it and had to, center myself again, but I'm back. And yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram probably because it goes from Facebook to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
Francesca S. James on Instagram. I don't know what I am on Facebook.
We'll put those links in the description of this
Mhm.
video so that they're easily accessible to folks.
Okay.
Well, thank you again. It's wonderful to see you. I'm so inspired by you. Thank you for the work that you are doing in the world and for, just being a shining light and a guiding light for people. And I really appreciate you.
And back at you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. We will see you next time on the Cycle Starters podcast. Have a great day, everybody.